episode of Mastermind TV. Now, my name is John Anthony, and this is something that is dear to my heart. My business partner, Michelle, and I wanted to create a safe environment for people of different businesses, experiences, and backgrounds to come together and mastermind. And today we have on our panel Laurie Davis, has a strong background in real estate and internet marketing, and also Valeska Van Fleet, who has owned her own companies and has a very strong business background. She lives in California, originally from Canada, with her two beautiful children and her husband. And today we're going to be talking about clarity in business and clarity in life. Because clarity is important. If you ask for vague things, then life is going to return vagueness back to you. And to use a quote from Napoleon Hill, he said, "Whatever the mind of man or woman can conceive or believe, he can achieve." So to that end, I'm going to hand you straight over to Valeska Van Fleet.
Thank you so much, John. And I just have to say how thrilled I am to be part of this phenomenal group and part of this team that's really a leadership collaborative where we can share our ideas and what we've learned with all of you. So I hope you'll tune in daily, and if not daily, often. As John said, my name is Valeska, and I came from a family of I'm an immigrant and came from a family of immigrants. And when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, the most important thing was school. My father hammered it into me that if you didn't have an education, you didn't have a career, you'd be nothing. So I was a good girl. I went to school. In fact, I loved school. I did an extended undergraduate degree. My father had to yank me out. You know, I was a bit of a Renaissance woman. And then, you know, he took me for one of those long walks under the stars and said, well, now you have to make up your mind about what you're going to do. And I really didn't have a clue. And he helped me make up my mind, and he chose an area that I was pretty good in, and off I went, and I went to a wonderful graduate school and had a fabulous education. Came out with a master's degree. And then I promptly took off for Europe. The fact is that, you know, I was a good student. I was pretty bright, but I didn't really have a clue about what I wanted to do. And I went to Greece, hung around there for a while, taught English as a second language, taught English to high schoolers there, and fell into a relationship, fell into a marriage. I was kind of an immature 20-something, I guess, and found myself in what was ultimately a fairly abusive relationship, both emotionally and physically. And it was very difficult because I had never seen myself as somebody who would be in that kind of position. I had always thought of myself as a pretty strong, independent woman, and certainly nobody in my family ever dreamed that that was possible or going on, although after they saw us interact, they began to suspect, but it was my dirty little secret for a number of years. And it took coming back to California and being around family and being around friends that finally gave me the fortitude to break loose, to shake loose from that. But still without ever really disclosing it to anybody, because it's such a shameful, it was such a shameful thing for me. And when I did, I got my first real streak of independence back, and I started a business with a friend of mine. It was a translation company. We were doing enterprise translation, which is not as esoteric as it sounds, but might be for another story. And I had a company that we grew to 40 people. We did several $1 million worth of revenue, which in the 90s was pretty good because we were self-financed, and it was the best, honestly, it was just the best most passionate time in my life, and I think that's where
Mastermind TV. Now, my name's John Anthony. This is something that is dear to my heart. My business partner Michelle and I wanted to create a safe environment for people with different businesses, experiences, and backgrounds come together and
now I'm hearing some.
And today we have on our panel Louis Davis has a strong background in real estate and internet marketing, and also Valeska Van Fleet.
Give me a moment. Yes, obviously exactly what is going on.
I'm hearing some playback. Are you?
She lives in California, originally from Canada, with her two children and her husband. And today we're going to be talking about clarity in business and clarity in life. Because clarity is important. As for vague things, life is going to return vagueness back to you. And to use a quote from Napoleon Hill, said, whatever the mind of man or woman can conceive or believe, he can achieve. So to that end, I'm going to hand you straight over to Valeska and Fleet.
No, I don't know.
I'm going to
thank you so much, John. And
I'm going to.
I just have to say how thrilled I am to be
dial back
part of
in.
this phenomenal group and part of.
Well, it ended.
Was that Valeska's? Was that hers playing?
Could well have been. Something was coming back.
Okay, because I have all my windows closed, so I don't know where that was coming from.
Okay, we'll see what happens when she pops back on.
She must have had the Mastermind Daily website pulled up at the same time.
I think so too.
And then it just started to play, so.
That's okay. Teething problems.
It's normal.
It happens. Hey, Valeska.
Hi. Sorry, I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden I got a lot of playback, and I heard you introducing again. Anyway, I'll continue.
Please do.
I had the so I started this company, which I ran for 9 years, and it was a fantastic time. It was all the passion, all the excitement, all the midnight prayer payroll meetings that we had, the works. But we grew, and because we were self-financed, we grew it as far as we could, and then we sold it. And the company still exists today. Now, you can never stay on. It's just one of those things. You have to let it go when you sell it. And I moved on. We sold it. We made money on it. We didn't make enough for me to retire, obviously, but that was okay. I was at a great point in my life, and I got a fabulous job with an Irish company. I was working from home, and I was newly married and having the time of my life. And my mother got ill. My parents had moved here to Monterey, and to cut a long story short, my mother passed away in 2002, and then my father came to live with us until 2006. And losing them was, again, something that had shaken the floor from under my feet, if you will. It was like some of my safety net had gone. But I was very happily married, and my husband and I decided that we wanted to have a family of our own, and so we adopted. And I was filling absolutely a hole in my heart as well, but I had always wanted to adopt, and we adopted 2 children of the age of 3 and 4, and part of the reason for that was that in adoption, everybody wants infants, and they go very quickly. The older the child is, the less likely they are to be a good candidate for adoption. So
how old was the child? Sorry, how old was the child you adopted?
3 and almost 5.
Okay.
A brother and sister. And I remember the first night I had this little girl sitting on my lap, totally bewildered. And she looked up at me and she said, "Are you my new mommy?" And it just broke my heart, you know, and I said, "Yes, and I'm going to love you forever." And I realized all of a sudden the enormity of, now my husband had been married before, he'd had children. I was a new mother, and all of a sudden the enormity of all of it was on me. And thank goodness I had a job where I was working from home and doing very well. So it gave me the flexibility to move from one thing to another and you know, be able to be mom and step in and out and so on. And I grew into the job as you do. It wasn't instantaneous, but I grew into it, and they were just growing up to be lovely kids. And by the time they were about 4th and 5th grade, I felt this calling to go to take this big job in the Silicon Valley. I got an extremely good offer from a tech company to run their localization, their translation department. It was a big job, it was big money, it was phenomenal benefits, it's everything. They just lure you with everything, and they've got it to give it to you. And the job was 85 miles away, so it was involving a commute, but I thought, you know, I can do this. I can do it. Well, I loved it for a while, but with all that money and all those benefits, they enslave you, they really do. And I was working from the moment I opened my eyes until the moment I shut my eyes, and I was commuting close to 4 hours every day. Needless to say, I didn't see my kids. My husband didn't know who I was anymore. I was always exhausted. I was so stressed out that after 2 years, I said, I can't do this anymore. And the end of 2011, I sort of left my position and I said, I've got to take a breather and figure out what I'm going to do next, because this isn't working for me. So I started off the year unemployed, and I thought, because there's a lot of consulting that goes on in our industry, in that industry, I thought I'll take a few months off and you know, I'll get a job and do some consulting so that I'm not on the road all the time. And that's really how I fell into internet marketing. And that's how I was hanging out on the computer, fell into internet marketing. And so I've really only been online for about 16 months, 17 months.
Okay.
And I've only, and when I joined Empower Network, I thought, this is it. This is the only thing I'm going to focus on, because I already find the internet to be, you know, a weapon of mass distraction. It's you know, here, there, everywhere. I said, I'm going to focus on this. And I figured, as many do, I'm a smart girl, I learned fast, I can do this. Now, if you listen to anybody who's been hugely successful in internet marketing, they'll tell you, the very first thing they'll tell you is, get in touch with your why. Well, I thought that was kind of dumb. I thought, well, of course, I know what my why is. I want to make some money. I have to replace my income. You know, I want to work less hours. Off I go. And I found that although the work wasn't very difficult, I wasn't being as immediately successful as I thought I was going to be. And I kept hearing this, well, you know, what's your why? And I thought, well, come on, don't. I want to make money.
Yeah.
I want to get out of debt. I want to, you know, do great things for my kids. I want to travel. I want to buy a bigger house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it turns out that you have to drill down a whole lot deeper than that. And I wasn't quite as smart as I thought, because all of those things are very superficial. And finally, I was heading out to an event. I was going to the Chicago event, which was one spectacular event. Empower puts on amazing events. And I was sitting at the airport, and I was checking my Facebook, and I looked, and up on my wall, there was a note from my daughter, who was now 12, and she's the perfect little adolescent. And she goes, "Dear Mom, I know I don't tell you this very often, but I want you to know I really love you. I know I can kind of not show it very much a lot of times, but you're my go-to person all the time. I always know you're behind me. I always know you're there for me, and I am so glad you adopted me, and I'm your daughter." Oh, my God. Wow. And I went, and yeah, it was there on my wall, and I thought, oh, my God. And it just, and that is, on the tails of that, I, of course, immediately wrote her back, and then on the tails of that, I flew to Chicago, and I thought, well, I'm so flippin' stupid. It's not about the money. That's my why. My kids are my why. And my sister who's ill is my why. And, and so all of a sudden I began to realize, well, money is just a means to an end, really. It's not about the money. It's about what you can do with it. Time to drill down a little bit further. Because it's sort of like playing the lotto. Have you ever played the lotto game where you say, well, what would you do if you won the 20 million or the 30 million? And you go through all of these things and you say, I'm going to buy this and I'm going to buy that and I'm going to do this and I'm going to go there and da-da-da. And then what? Then what? I mean, there comes a point that you've exhausted all of that, all of the wants that you think you have. And you have all of this money left over. Because I'm reminded of Bill Gates, who was a billionaire before he was 30, and he was they talked about, he said, are you going to leave everything to your kids? And he said, no, I'm going to leave it to the world, because, it was the challenge of making the money, but you can't really spend all that money, can you? I mean, what are you going to do with $200 billion? And I started to think about what internet marketing was really all about. And it's about people, which is why I love it. It's about connecting with people. And it is the ultimate, social system, because you're only as good and as strong as your team. You're not really going to make those absurd amounts of money unless your team is really successful. And your team's not going to be successful without you. So you have to have leadership. You have to work with your team. That doesn't mean handhold them through everything, but you help them grow their business. Your business grows. Now that's pretty awesome. And it's awesome because for me, after I had spent all my lotto earnings, I realized that what was important was to leave something behind a little bit better. And my social conscience said to me, it's like throwing a pebble in a pool of water, and you see the ripples go. And I think of the cycle of poverty that we have in the Western world, where we should all have. There's so much abundance, and how much crime there is, and I link the two very closely together. And I don't mean to sound corny, but I really think that there's a strong tie between the have-nots and the amount of crime and unhappiness there is. People turn to drugs, they turn to all sorts of areas where they should be making money but they're not. They're doing things that they can't pull themselves out of. So it's drugs, it's weapons, and I think if I can just raise 50 people out of that, if I can just take 50 people and change their life from one of poverty to one of where they can make ends meet and have a regular family and and their kids have food and clothes, and they can go to summer camp. And maybe they're not wealthy, but they're living as we all should be. Then I've already started to not just help people, but I've made my community a better place. And that pool gets wider, and maybe they will do the same thing. And it's sort of, I grew up in the time where it's think globally, act locally. And if I can make the world around me, the world I live in, a better place, then I've done something really awesome. Then I have lived a life worth living. Then I have really contributed to other people's lives.
Create a legacy, yeah.
Yeah, it's a legacy, and yes, your children are your legacy, but that would be a life worth living. And this is an industry where you can do this. This is the type of business where you can do this, and all you have to do really is focus on the fact that it isn't about you. It's not about me. It's about everybody that you come in touch with that you can help. And that is how you're going to grow anyway. I mean, the payoff is that you too will grow, and you too will have that abundance, but you have to be willing to give it to others. And I think that was it. Gee, it took me over 20 years to figure that out. But that was sort of my journey to clarity. It was sort of when I started to become really good at what I was doing, when I started to become more successful. And I urge all of you who are in this business to go through that exercise of drilling down and peel back the layers of the onion until you get to that core, because that's when you're going to find your passion, and you need to have that passion to move forward. You need to wake up in the morning and say, this is what I want to do, and that's where it's going to get me. And that's my story.
Okay, so when did this change actually, since the joining Empower, your
well,
wife?
no, as I said, John, if I would have had this, epiphany when I joined Empower immediately, I think I would have been wildly successful. Well, I would have been successful much more quickly. But it was one of the big lessons that you have to learn. Network marketing is the easiest and the hardest job I've ever had. And it's easy because the skills you need to acquire really aren't very difficult. But the mindset and understanding why you're doing what you're doing, it's not a quick answer. You need to sort of percolate that for a while. You really have to know what's driving you. Mm-hmm. You have to understand, and the reason for that is because it's also a hard job, because the amount of focus, the amount of consistency, the amount of pick yourself up and go again that you need to make those ridiculous amounts of money. And I will spit out the income disclaimer. People are making crazy amounts of money, but not everybody will make crazy amounts of money because everybody is different. And Empower Network has an income disclosure for the average earnings, and I guess it just really depends on whether you paint yourself as average or not. But you can make loads or you could make nothing. And if you want to make loads, there's probably a good reason that's pushing you for that. All the people that are usually successful have big dreams and big goals that they're going after. And that is, I think, the driver. That's what's going to get you there. If you think it's just about paying off your debts and buying a bigger house and maybe a really fast car, you can go get yourself a six-figure job for a while, and you could have that probably in a year, and and blow through it in two and be right back where you started. But to have a sustainable life and a sustainable dream, and to be hitting that, you have to hit your core. And that took me a while. I can learn all the other parts, and I love working with people. So that part wasn't the difficult part. It was figuring out what was motivating me, and that changed as I developed on. And that part of the journey for me took almost a year. It took about a good 10 months.
Do you think, though, that there's possibly subconsciously that was always driving you, but you didn't actually realize it consciously?
Yes.
That's why you came into power. That's why
Absolutely.
this. Suddenly, it's just.
Absolutely.
And your daughter
Absolutely.
put it out on
I mean,
Facebook. Said, "This is it."
My daughter put a face on it on Facebook. She absolutely. I was so stunned, and all of a sudden it just. Because I had been trying to tell myself, oh, this is just about making some money, and look at all this money that people can make, and I needed to have that really gut-wrenching, you are so stupid, don't you get it? Don't you understand? And wow, it was like, it wasn't like being smacked across the face. It was just like this light bulb that went off, and I thought, Valeska, this is it. Get it? This is it. And that was an amazing feeling because, I had lived a pretty long time and worked a pretty long time without really ever getting that.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, not working and following the type of career where I could really get to that point and actually do that, because a corporate job is a corporate job is a corporate job, and it's a linear type of income. And this is one of those income situations where if you have the drive, if you have the passion, if you have the focus, if you have the desire to do and to reach your dreams, and you know what they are, you can do it.
Do you
and then it's exponential.
About what you're doing and what your whys are and where you're going? Is it something that's apparent to you now? You live it every moment?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Your why, is it something that you remind yourself of every day? You're aware of this now? Is something
I'm aware of it every single, from the moment I get up to the moment I go to sleep. It's in me.
Mm-hmm.
It drives me. It pushes me to do a little bit more. It pushes me to connect a little bit more. It's like this. It's like this, having this little Energizer bunny sitting behind you, going go 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 go. You can't. It's not that I can't let up. I don't want to let up. I don't want to let up.
And this has probably been said before. It's always been it's just now it's apparent. The curtain's been pulled back, and you now will know exactly why.
Absolutely, because I think of everything that I did, even when I was in school, and I never really had a big drive to be a business person. I always had a certain amount of disdain, and some of it's not all well-founded, but I always thought that the corporate world was all evil, and I had a very liberal education, and so I thought, one of the books that I read early on in school called How the Other Half Lives, which talks about how the politics of food and how food is really withheld from, I won't go into it, but it's how we could really be feeding the world 10 times over, except that so much of it is how businesses create demand, and that change, it was a formative thing for me. I thought about that, and I thought we shouldn't be letting people live in abject poverty if we have the means to change it. And somewhere along that has been a thread that's followed me through my life. I don't necessarily. It's not that I believe in handouts, but I believe in giving a helping hand, and I believe in fostering a community where we give and we help each other. That's so important. We're not little islands. We're all connected, and this collaborative and the industry in and of itself is home to me because it is a very collaborative environment. People help each other here, and that is not necessarily so common in business. If you work in a big corporation, you've got people pulling on your leg as you're trying to climb, and they're pushing you out of the lifeboat as you're trying to save yourself. And here, you can ask a total stranger, how do you do this or how do you do that, and they help you. And we're not really competing for this. We're not competing, but we're all in the same market. It's just that there's enough for everybody. And we can be successful and let each other be successful. We don't have to have that scarcity mindset. We shouldn't be afraid to give some of it away.
What I found, and what myself and Michelle both found, we were in a networking marketing company previously, and of course you buy into the network marketing deal that you're not successful unless your people are successful. But they always talk about the abundance mindset, but there wasn't. It was scarcity. It was almost fear-based, that they didn't want people to succeed and surpass them in any way. And the refreshing thing that we found within Empower is people do help people, and it is the truth. If you don't help your people succeed and people in general, then you're going nowhere.
That's it. You're only as successful as your team is. And you're right. I think that the culture that Empower has bred, the company culture that Empower has bred, is one of collaboration and cooperation. And I don't know enough about other network marketing companies, because this is really my first foray. I mean, I admit that I tried another company before I started this. I dabbled in something, and I immediately bailed out because it sort of fulfilled all my worst fantasies of how scammy and it was,
and everything.
It was just sort of and from the time I got into Empower, I have to say I got into Empower and I was all in within 2 weeks, because I'm a all or nothing kind of girl, and I just thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I've got to really, really, really do it, and really I've got to learn, because I don't know a whole lot about this new generation of marketing, and it was new for me. I mean, marketing in the 90s and marketing in the 80s was a totally different thing, and this is a really exciting way to be running a business. And of course, I love having my own business. I love working at home, but I love having the community as well, because otherwise it gets kind of lonely. I like the idea now. It's so cool. We can just all connect online, see each other, and help each other. And I think from day one, I was in the original Facebook group that Dave and Dave used to have, and I would ask questions. I would say, "Can anybody tell me how to?" "Oh, Valeska, this is it." And I thought, "Wow, that's just awesome!" And holy cow, these people are actually helping me.
Yeah. Laurie, do you want to jump in and ask some questions of what Valeska's been saying?
Well, I think with Valeska, what really impresses me about her is the fact that she is one of those people that also, she networks and she shares and she reaches out to people. But I was with in Denver, I met Valeska. We actually ended up sharing a hotel room, and it wasn't because we had set it up. Another lady with Empower had a room, and that's what another thing about Empower is everybody's, if you don't have a room, somebody's going to put you in their room, for the events. It's so awesome, and there was a message sent out and said, hey, I need some roommates, and I didn't know, Valeska was going to be there when I got to Denver, but when I met her, instantly there was a relationship and a spark there because she had been through so many of the same things that I had, and I saw that when I went with her to the Denver training team party that night. People were coming up and hugging her and taking pictures with her, and even though her relationship with them was built strictly on internet, they thought they knew her intimately because of the fact that this is what the community offers, is that we are getting to know each other. Even though she's in California, I'm in Montana, you're in UK, and then our other partner Michelle's in Canada. It's almost like we live in the same town, and I think that's amazing. And that's what people really need to realize when they start this journey, that they're going to meet people like Valeska, like myself, like John, like Michelle. There's so many of us that are here to help you in this community. And, Valeska is one of those people. She's an amazing person. She's an amazing woman. She's even created a Facebook page about women and men being bold and wonderful and brave. And I think that's amazing that she's actually shining other people's talents and sharing, what is amazing about them with the whole world. So, Valeska, I commend you so much on what you are doing every day. And I see your journey every day. I see your vision. And, I just want to encourage you to keep going because, I do believe you're in the right place at the right time and in the right community.
Oh, it's home. It absolutely is home.
Well, you always find that you're in the right place, always, aren't you? You've put yourself in the right place, whether you realise it or not at the time.
Yeah.
You always seem to be
That's
in
exactly
the right place. You just got to realise it and open your eyes and say, well, I've put myself here
I am
for a reason. Now, what is that reason? You found out your why. It doesn't matter. You found it out. You realised it consciously. This is what my reason is. This is my why. This is what I'm after.
Yeah. It's and then heart and soul that you are where that everything you do is what you should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's just such an awesome feeling.
Fantastic.
It's rewarding, I think, is what you find compared to working for a boss or working in a business or, doing things that we've grown up to be taught to do. I think that, being your own self and an entrepreneur and the journey that you're going to take, with Empower or whatever company that you're with, the fact that Empower, their whole, I would say 90% of what you go through with Empower is mindset. It really is. It's helping you to, become that better person.
Lori, you raise a really good point because, again, coming from the business world, you're not encouraged. In fact, it's discouraged. You don't talk about yourself. You don't talk about how you feel. You're not, those are things that you guard. If you're having a bad day, you guard it. You're not really, and it's the antithesis in this business because really the more real you are, bumps, warts, the works, whatever is you, and that's what you project, and that's what the most successful people project. You need to be real. You need to be yourself, and that too was part of that journey. I thought, gosh, that's an awful lot to let go of. I mean, really, can I just sort of let it all, even the way I was raised, I mean, you don't share everything with everybody, but, all of a sudden that letting go is so liberating. When you find you can just be yourself, that path just becomes so much clearer.
That's powerful. It is powerful.
Yeah.
Because again, this network marketing deal that myself and Michelle were in previously, it was always put on. You had to posture yourself. You had to put yourself out to be something. And in reality, I didn't want to be like these guys. I couldn't be that man, that person. I didn't want to say things that weren't true. There's no point if you can't be yourself. That, you know, when you get to what you're after, and you find that you've been living a lie, you know, what is the point? You feel a fraud.
Precisely.
And when I came into Empower, it was all about be real, be yourself. That's your strongest point. You know, that is where your power lies. And when you are yourself, then that's where your power can flow, by being yourself and being real. Because we're all different. We've all got different experiences, backgrounds, histories. We've all got different reasons why we're here, but we're all different, but with the same vision. And that's the beautiful thing that both myself and Michelle spoke about it in length, why this company is wonderful, because it does say, be yourself. Don't be ashamed. It's your show. You know, be yourself.
That's it.
Yeah,
Well,
I was tired of
what-
hearing the fake it till you make it, right? I mean, that's the mentality with network marketing, is fake it till you make it. I saw leaders blow up numbers that weren't true. You knew they weren't making that kind of money because you knew their downline. You knew what was, producing, but that's what they tell you, is fake it till you make it. And in Empower, that's not the case. People are real. They tell you where they're at. They tell you, this is the journey that I'm taking, and people are more realistic about the fact that they're building a business and a foundation, and it takes time to build that. You're not instantly going to make all this money. You've got to put the time, the effort, and work your butt off, and Dave will tell you that you have to work your butt off. You have to. But, that's the difference about what Dave and Empower Network provides versus the mentality that you get from other network marketing companies. And I know, Valeska, you haven't been in any of the other ones, but, with John and with and so many other people, that mentality that people are being taught, it does make you feel like a liar. It really does. And that's why you end up walking away from it, because you can't continue to live that lie that they're trying to, help you to do, basically, is to help people to think and believe that you're better than what you really are, and that's really sad.
Yeah, no, it's well, and that is what is so awesome about what Michelle and John have put together here, is that, again, we were talking about that collaboration, and here we've got three different teams, and we're collaborating across teams, and whoever is watching this, regardless of whether you're on one of our teams or not, you get to benefit. And regardless of whether you join if you join one of our teams, you'll still get the benefit of, basically 4 leaders or 4 people who are driving business and can hopefully help you be successful. And that was a beautiful vision that you guys had, and I just think I'm so proud to be a part of it.
No spoken. Well, we're going to wrap this up. Is there anything else you want to add in, Laurie, while we're here?
No, I want people to realize that this is a safe environment for people to come to share and be who they are and get the help and the training from us, because we understand that it's hard. It's hard to start your own business, and it's hard to go through all the training and really know what you're doing. But we're here to try to simplify things. We're going to celebrate you. We're going to, help for people to, see that we're going to provide value. Even if you're busy working another job, you can know that you can plug them into what we're doing, and we're going to help them. And I think that's what you need to understand about this community, is this is about you. It's not about us. It's a bigger picture.
That's it.
Absolutely. Okay, well, that's it for today. Tomorrow at the same time, 8 a.m. Pacific time, we'll be handing it over to Laurie Davis, and she'll be speaking about her clarity in business. So until then, my name is John Anthony on behalf of myself and Michelle Marie. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you. Goodbye, ladies.
Bye. Bye.
Goodbye.